So recently, Vivek, Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk took MAGA by a firestorm. And so we're going to look at some videos. We're going to look at some X posts. We might even do a second video after this one. We're going to start off with this video and we're going to transfer into
Tonight,
X.
as President-elect Donald Trump is preparing for a widespread immigration crackdown when he takes office 25 days from now, we're seeing a crack between some of his top advisors and his MAGA base. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are both facing major blowback from their own supporters for not only backing, but encouraging offering more visas to highly skilled foreign workers. Over the Christmas holiday, Musk posted this online saying, "Think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be." He later added, "I'm referring to bringing in, via legal immigration, the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning." He's talking about H-1B visas, which allow employers to hire highly skilled foreign workers. Musk, who himself is from South Africa, said that he once had this kind of visa, and he's arguing that Silicon Valley is facing a shortage of excellent engineering talent, as he put it. But the annual cap on those kinds of visas right now is at 65,000, with another 20,000 for those who get a master's or a doctorate in the US. Musk is being backed up by his partner in Trump's government efficiency initiative, Vivek Ramaswamy. He says it's a cultural issue that there aren't more competitive engineers in the US. Here's what he said online: "A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel and Family Matters will not produce the best engineers." But that argument is not going over well with Trump's MAGA base, certainly not online. Some of them saying, "We did not ask them to engineer an immigration policy. Tech wants indentured servants, not high-skilled workers. You don't even know what MAGA immigration policy is."
So we're gonna go look at Laura Loomer on X. She has been very upset. She has been blue checklisted by Elon Musk. Her subscriptions have been taken down. Um, and she's definitely posting things like this. King Elon, he wants to be a king, and the Republican Party is okay with making him one. Um, she has not designated her comments to Donald Trump. She was very close with Trump. There's definitely some pictures out with her and Trump during the campaign trail. But I don't know if she's gonna, aim a little bit higher and aim at Trump in the near future, or if she's just gonna stick with Elon Musk. Um, but she's kind of going out saying, I wonder how Republicans are going to feel come 2026, which is the midterms, when they feel disenfranchised, canceled by billionaires, and feel like they don't have a voice anymore. Actually, I know how they will feel: bad enough to not show up. Enjoy your censorship. Um, I've kind of said it in other videos, mainly regarding the economy. But the truth is, the midterms for Republicans and Democrats are usually the hardest because it's not a presidential election. Um, Runoff elections are also extremely hard for both, to get support, to get voters. Um, but we shall see. I mean, um, right here we're starting to see a clear dividing line of MAGA. On one side are those that just joined for the ideals and ideas it represented: America first, free speech, return of power to the populace. Um, I mean, you can scroll down. Then I know there was a there was a post where she was kind of talking about the Republican Party. Yeah, and you shouldn't feel good. Um, why should any American feel good about billionaires and buying influence in the party and then silencing people who have disagreements on policy? MAGA shouldn't be happy at all right now. 2026 will be very interesting. Once more, feel disenfranchised. Um, Here we go. Expect more of this censorship against others since the GOP sold our party to tech billionaires. Guess our voices don't matter anymore. Disagree. Poof. The algorithm will hide you. 2026 is going to be very interesting. Millions of Americans already feel trampled by elites. And I mean, this is a similar disdain that many in the Democratic Party, Democratic supporters felt against, uh, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, kind of like, shut up, be okay with whatever we do. We're going to support the billionaire class. We're going to support the establishment. We're going to support the deep state. We're going to support the elites. And you're just going to be cool with it. And so, of course, she's seen a lot of people leave the Democratic Party, either sit out in 2024. They either didn't vote, they either voted for Jill Stein. And then, there's the talk, which, definitely has a lot of validity, which is the Bernie to Trump pipeline. So, of course, she's not the only one kind of talking about it. We can definitely, just wanted to make sure that I get a lot of what she's kind of saying. Obviously, we can go to Steve Bannon. Obviously, he was in 2016 campaign. I mean,
dog for the greatest enemy this nation's ever had. You are a war profiteer, and that up crony capitalism and Elon Musk. And by the way, when we cut him off, he went begging. He went begging the CCP, and that's why they have the joint venture in Shanghai, the Tesla, which is 100% of his value, right? This guy lives on government contracts and taxpayer subsidies. Okay, it's all. We're going to get Joe Allen in here for a second. Elon Musk, once again, brother. I'm smart enough to tell you no to your face, and I'm evil enough to be able to expose you as a running dog for the greatest enemy this nation's ever had. You're a war profiteer. You're sleeping with the enemy, brother, and you've been doing it because you're not an American nationalist. You're not even an American. All you are is a globalist, okay? A globalist. And you will go where anybody writes you a check, and you would take it from Adolf Hitler himself, because you're taking it from people that are as bad as Adolf Hitler. The murderous regime of the Chinese Communist Party, which you praised on their 100th anniversary. Let me bring it.
So, when you actually take a look at the continuing resolution bill that was tanked um, recently, a lot of that kind of had a no spending policy within China, no, a lot of blockade among China. And so a lot of people are kind of saying it had nothing to necessarily do with the amount being spent on the continuing resolution, but more or less Elon was actually upset about the blockade on China. Um, and when you kind of like look at some of the history of Tesla, he was bailed out um, during the Great Recession. Obviously, they had some high end new and used Tesla. Well, don't quote me on this, but I know it was like, I want to say it was like $7,500 um, rebate for new Teslas. This in the past couple of years. Obviously, SpaceX gets NASA contracts. Obviously, he definitely gets a few defense contracts. I mean, a lot of the major players do. Amazon, Microsoft. Um, but to kind of keep on with what Steve Bannon is saying,
This whole thing about, oh, we want to get all this and they're only geniuses. That's H-1B visas. That's not what it's about. It's about taking American jobs and bringing over essentially become indentured servants at lower wages. Like I told those guys, remember, hey, if you got an Einstein every 25 years, come to us. Maybe we can make an exception for Einstein. Maybe, if it's proven. The whole thing's a scam. This thing's a scam by the oligarchs in Silicon Valley to basically take jobs from American citizens, give them to what become indentured servants from foreign countries, and then pay them less. Simple. To let them into through the golden door.
I normally wouldn't agree with Steve Bannon or Laura Loomer, but Steve Bannon makes the clearest, most valid point. Um, when you look at this Koch brother ideology, which is, we want to have open borders, we want to have these visas. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they want to suppress American wages. Don't believe me? Tyson's Foods just laid off like 1,200 Americans and literally picked up a whole bunch of immigrants to take those same jobs. The big conundrum with these visas are, as an American, you know that you have a little bit more sway, you have a little bit more pull with your boss, especially if you're in a union or with the business owner. You have a right to demand more of your wages. You have a right to have some home time. You have a right to make sure that, if possible, I mean, not every job, not every person, of course, is 1099 contractors, but a lot of W-2 employees, they actually have, especially that are American born and American citizens working here in America, you do have a little bit more freedom and a negotiating power as far as your living conditions, as far as your pay and benefits with your employer. When you're talking about a visa, I mean, immediately if they get fired, they literally have to go back to their country of origin. So now, you can literally ask for more hours, you can ask for less pay, um, you can offer less benefits. Um, when you look at a lot of the other opposite of the coin, which is the illegal migration and the illegal work, is literally the same thing. There's literally no pathway to citizenship. It's more expensive for them to go to higher education. It's actually more expensive on the resident, and you're at your local um, in your local tax district. you know, your property taxes, your houses, your cars, your boats, whatever you may own, is taxed to normally to pay for the local school district. So now when you have more needs, English as a second language, and you have all these other, you have a lot of kids that have to be provided free education, even though they might be here undocumented. Um, that does, in part, not solely, but in part, raise your property taxes because now you have to have these accommodations. A lot of times when they graduate from high school, they try to go off to a community college or a 4-year university. They're now having to pay out of state tuition because they're not documented. Then it even goes to the part where they may not be able to provide the proper necessary documentation for work, buying houses, cars. I mean, it's just a large amount of problems that creates this indentured servitude, this underclass, and all because a lot of these oligarchs, these billionaires, these corporations want to have cheap labor. Um, and we're not even talking about the fact that what we're doing to these other countries to cause these people to want to migrate. Um, at least when you look at a lot of the, Latin America, we have supported cartels, we have, supported drug lords, we have interfered in elections, we have did assassination attempts. Um, we have caused a lot of economic problems in these Latin American countries, and so that's what kind of forces a lot of this illegal immigration through the southern border. Um, Now, when you start talking about India and stuff, we give tax breaks to these CEOs, to these employers to be able to bring these people here, but then we're not going to give tax breaks, or we're not going to give any kind of incentives for employers to, hire veterans or hire felons or hire Americans or hire someone disenfranchised here in America, which I just find it odd. So, the question now is, now that you have two people very influential in the Trump campaign, Laura Loomer and Steve Bannon, here we have Trump pretty much speaking out. He definitely says that he sides with the H-1B visa. It's a great program. He did say that he wanted to staple a green card to those who are going to college here, foreigners who are graduating from college, because he wants the best of the best. Yet we're not offering the same incentives for American students. For, you know, a lot of our public schools are underfunded. A lot of our colleges, they have their own agenda. It's a big business. And so we're not necessarily, as a whole country, pushing the best and the brightest of our own. Um, you know, a lot of teachers, parents, they are pushing kind of like this woke soft agenda versus, trying to make kids who are critical thinkers, who are have a we're not rewarding hard work ethic. You look at somebody like, um, just for example, basketball. You got Kobe Bryant, you got uh, Steph Curry. The first one's in the gym, the last one's in out of the gym. You know, they're 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 putting in the work, and it shows. Yet, we as a society, it does take a village to raise a child, and we as a society, you know, we have allowed the government, we have allowed the institutions to literally, how can I say it, pussyfy our kids. But we look at Vivek Ramaswamy, he's definitely, you know, taking his win, and he's having a field day with it. Um, so prime example, we have an anti-American subculture that cancels the science fair in favor of drag queen story hour, forces colleges to spend more time in teaching microaggressions and microbiology, teaches kids in America that Cardi B is a role model and Thomas Jefferson is a racist. Um, I mean, Thomas Jefferson did write the best document in the entire world. Of course, it was changed a little bit and ratified by Congress, but Thomas Jefferson has his plus and negatives, and just to kind of, you know, hop over some of those negatives is disingenuous, but we're not going to another time. Um, of course, Charlie Kirk is, on Team Vivek, Team, HB1 visas. If I was a smart leftist, I would go all in trying to create a schism between MAGA and the tech world. We must resist this. But I don't think that this is really that. I think that, it's just they want cheap labor. Um, and, we've seen it time and time again. But to a certain extent, I do think that Vivek is somewhat right, um, in saying that, America is promoting like a softness, but the reality is that's not every aspect of America. That's not every student. That's not every school. Um, as a whole, you might be able to say that, but I mean, I've always lived in the South. I travel in the South. I spend, when especially now that I'm driving trucks and I'm out of school and I'm out of social work and I'm, kind of moving away from construction, I've been able to witness a lot of things. And in the South, we have a different type of intellect. We have a different type of work ethic, which is, we may go work on a semi truck as a mechanic, you know, exposed to the elements. We may be able to figure out a problem, just like that. When you're talking about remodeling and you're talking about new construction, we are literally, especially with remodeling, we are making things happen, critically thinking. You're taking a house that was built in the 1950s, 60s, and then you're updating it to a style of 2024. You know, a lot of the a lot of the a lot of the materials that was originally used in the house might not necessarily transcribe to what we're trying to do 2024. So there's a lot of adjustments. There's a lot of creativity. I know, especially when you're talking about remodeling, you're dealing with a lot of homeowners. You're dealing with a lot of flippers, and oh, my light went out. Well, we're just gonna keep rolling with it. You're dealing with a lot of homeowners, a lot of house flippers. They have this idea in their mind. They have this I, this Pinterest thought, this, Instagram thought, and you have to make it a reality. And a lot of times, you're making the impossible possible. And you're working long hours. You're looking at truck drivers. A lot of us, we work hours that I can't even be honest about on here just because of the regulations, but it's just what it is. And so we sit here and we, a lot of times as a country, we do glorify the wrong industries. You know, we glorify college graduates, we glorify tech, and I'm not saying that we don't need it, but you think about it. You go over here and pay this tech guy 150, 200, 300K. You know, if he doesn't show up for work today, the world might not stop. But if a plumber doesn't show up for work today, you might not be able to take a shit. Electrician might not show up for the work today or be able to come out there and fix what you need. You might not be able to turn on a light. If a truck driver doesn't show up for work, you might not have anything in the grocery store. You might not have anything in the gas station. You might not even have gas for your car. You might not even have your car. So, we do, in this country, we do provide benefits and incentives and a lot more regard to people who somewhat, if you ask the blue collar guy, y'all actually have the soft hands. Y'all are the lazy ones. So, neither here or there, but let's get back to this video.
Now, Trump himself, who I should note restricted H-1B visas in his first term, has said on the campaign trail this time around that he did want to make it easier for educated foreigners to work in the U.S.
What I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country.
My political sources tonight are former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, CNN political commentator and Republican strategist Shermichael Singleton, and also CNN economics and political commentator Catherine Rampell. And Catherine, you have covered this issue for a long time. Can you just lay out what we're looking at here in this divide between what Elon Musk says he thinks would be the best for the United States and why we are seeing something that we have not seen, frankly, almost at all lately, which is a lot of people in the MAGA universe outright disagreeing with him arguing with him and breaking with him online.
So Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in this particular case, I think are exactly right. America's ability to attract talent from around the world is basically our economic superpower. Uh, the fact that, in particular, we've been able to attract high skilled immigrants quite reliably in this country over the past century or so is why we have this enduring leadership in science, tech, and business. So, just as an example, of all Fortune 500 companies, about half of them were founded by immigrants or the children of immigrants. And of the Nobel laureates, American Nobel laureates who have received prizes for the hard sciences this century, about 40% of them are immigrants who came to this country. So, again, this is our superpower. And I'm very glad that Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy recognize it. I very much hope that they are able to influence Donald Trump on this particular issue, but I'm doubtful about it because, just as you mentioned, in his first term, Trump was actually quite hostile to legal immigrants, in particular, by the way, high skilled legal immigrants. He made it really hard for them to come here, not just those who wanted work authorization, international students who cross subsidized American students, by the way. He basically harassed them and made it very difficult for them to keep their legal documents in order. That's because, as much as Trump has said, oh, he only objects to illegal immigration, he's very much in favor of legal immigration. His policies don't bear that out. And that's partly because Stephen Miller is the one who was the architect of Donald Trump's immigration policies last time around and will probably do so again this time around, and is unlikely to adopt the sort of Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy view of things.
Yeah, Stephen Miller's getting a huge job in the West Wing. He's been around Trump for the 4 years he was out of office. And sure, Michael, as the Republican here, I wonder what your view on this is, because this is happening within the Republican Party. I mean, these are two top advisors to Trump, the MAGA world, who are kind of framing this as the true believers, who say, we asked for stricter immigration policies. That didn't mean coming with a carve out for high skilled workers that they say are taking American jobs here.
Yeah, look, I think with all due respect to Mr. Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they should focus on saving federal dollars for the taxpayers and not immigration policy. I understand some of the points that Catherine made, and I agree to an extent. But I think the U.S. should focus more on domestic skill development. Studies also show that H-1B1 exacerbates employers hiring individuals from outside of the country when they could potentially hire minorities, for an example, which we know there's a shortage in the STEM fields. There are a significant number of Americans who I think would love opportunities if they had the proper training and skills to operate in those jobs fairly well. So why not start and focus there? I'm not of the support or mindset, Caitlin, that we should let in more than the 60 plus thousand that were already let into the country. Do we have some deficits? I certainly understand that point, again, to what Catherine was sort of alluding to. But I think by focusing on increasing domestic skill development, you can decrease the furtherance of those deficits by virtue of saying, you know what, we're going to spend more of our time, more of our dollars educating our own citizens to compete for these jobs versus saying, let's increase to 100,000 or maybe even more for employers to bring in individuals from India, which is a predominant country where many of them come from. I don't agree with that at all. And I think folks in the MAGA world have every right to be angry with Vivek and Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point, because I saw that argument being made, but also I saw Mark Cuban, Mr. Mayor, responding to that saying, well, and I think we have what he had posted, quoting to Elon Musk and Vivek, saying, well, everyone, argue college is overrated. If you're arguing we need to have more homegrown engineers, don't we need more kids who are going to college? I mean, I think he's being a bit sarcastic there, but that is kind of the dual arguments that you see sometimes from this political orbit.
Look, I see a couple of things going on here. First of all, I have to say I agree with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I think they're pointing out the reality that we're living. You could say, and I hear Michael's point, I disagree with it, though, because I think it misses the fact that we want to get to the place where we can maximize the use of our own talent in this country. Let's bring in the best and brightest from all around the world.
But you're not. I mean, this is the issue that we're having. you can say that, yeah, well, let's get to a point where we are developing them, developing our citizens, but we're not. Like, can somebody explain to me what we have as a country have done to develop our own in the recent decade, 2 decades, besides allow colleges to overcharge us? I mean, even public school, grade school, like most kids are not even on. Like most kids have an inability to read on grade level.
World. Let's really make our economy stronger. Let's become even more tech dominant. That's the way, in fact, to elevate the whole country and to create more opportunity for Americans of all kinds in the tech field. So I don't know why on earth we wouldn't want to grab all the talent out there, especially because if we don't, our competitors will. I think it's also fascinating that we're seeing this kind of open conflict. I think it's going to be the first of many. And of course, that speaks to the question of Elon Musk's role. I think really soon we're going to see more divergence between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's natural, given each of them having the power they have. I think that's going to be a very, very important storyline in 2025. That these two people who appear to be allies but really have very different interests start to diverge issue by issue. We saw it also during the recent budget fight. I think we're going.
And I think that was their intention with Bill Bellagio. You know, he is. It kind of goes back to the comment that was made, or the post that was made by Vivek. Yes, like the entire leftist, objective right now is to put a wedge in between Trump and Elon Musk. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, only time can tell. But I think that's what CNN's actual agenda is, by having this guy on, or at least maybe his agenda.
I see it on issues like artificial intelligence and climate, where Musk has been in a different place than Trump. That's going to have ramifications for how successful Trump can be in general. And then finally, I mean, look, for the MAGA world to be turning on their own this quickly. This is also an interesting question. They almost look like Democrats here. It's like, so I say this lovingly as a Democrat, like we have an ability to eat our own very quickly sometimes. Well, this is fascinating. Here are these heroes just a few minutes ago, and they say one thing that a lot of the MAGA world disagrees with, and suddenly they're being villainized. That's not good for that coalition.
Yeah, I think that's interesting in terms of what the West Wing will look like, too. I mean, Elon Musk is not coming in, Catherine, but in an official capacity, but he's in the room. He's always at Mar-a-Lago. Trump jokes about how he's always often there. He has dinner with him regularly. Between that and the tech moguls who have been parading down to Mar-a-Lago to also have dinner with him, I wonder what that looks like with this divide that is so clear between Stephen Miller and what he has been advocating for and what we know he did in the first term, and what this looks like with a new big advisor in Trump's ear like Elon Musk.
Trump seems to listen to the last person he heard from. So if that is Elon Musk, it might be Elon Musk. If it's Stephen Miller, and as you point out, Stephen Miller will have a very powerful job in the next administration, it's probably going to be him. Frankly, I don't think Trump pays all that much attention to the nitty gritty policies that are taking effect under his watch, which is probably why he doesn't even realize that last time around, he did a lot more to reduce legal immigration than illegal immigration because Stephen Miller was running the show. So I think that whatever Trump says he wants to do, the actual people who are executing the policy at the end of the day will be making the decisions.
That I do agree with.
In his clash with the far right.
That I do kind of agree with, honestly, her last statement, but I transgress. That's probably going to be it for this topic. I will probably post a video on what Dave Smith had posted on this topic, and I probably will go into more depth in the future about immigration. I'm sure to kind of really get my thoughts on it out into the open. But yeah, have a good New Year's.